Hey, this video was made just for you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
The next topic is energy. Why do this following three examples happen? So, why does it happen? If a pot having a plant is kept in the dark, the plant languishes, that is, it dies. So, we must have noticed that plants need sunlight. So, once you keep it in the dark, you'll notice after a few days it will start to perish and die. On increasing the volume of a music system or TV beyond a limit, the vessels in the house start vibrating. If you increase the volume of your TV or music system very high, you will notice that the surrounding objects like metal stuff like vessels, they will start to vibrate. Collecting sunlight on a paper with the help of a convex lens burns the paper. You can either use convex lens or even magnifying glass which contains a convex lens. So when you make sure that you collect this sunlight through the convex lens and concentrate it on the paper, you will notice that after a while the paper will start burning. So why does this all happen? The capacity of a body to perform work is called energy. So this is the definition of energy. It is the capacity of a body to perform work. The unit of work and energy are the same. So, if you remember, the unit of work was joule. So, therefore, the unit of energy will also be the same, that is joule. That is, the unit of in SI system is joule, while in CGS it is erg. This is the same as the unit for work. You have learned that energy exists in various forms like mechanical, heat, light, sound, and electromagnetic, also chemical, nuclear, and solar. So, these are the different types of energy that exist in our surroundings. In this chapter, we are going to study two forms of mechanical energy, namely potential energy and kinetic energy. So, in our surroundings there are different types of energy like mechanical, heat energy, light energy, sound energy, electromagnetic energy, chemical, nuclear, and solar energy. From that, let us learn about the first type, that is mechanical. In this mechanical there are two types of the mechanical energy. One is called potential energy, the other is called kinetic energy. Let us learn what exactly is potential energy and what exactly is kinetic energy. The first one we will learn is kinetic energy. What will happen in the following cases? A fast cricket ball strikes the stumps. If you notice while playing cricket, when the ball is coming with speed and it hits the stumps, for example, if this is the stump and this ball is coming towards in the stump direction and it hits it with force, you will notice that the stump moves in that direction and will fall down. A striker hits a coin on the carom board. Also, again, you must have noticed while playing carom, you hit a striker to move other pieces on the board. So, when the striker hits this other piece, that piece will move in the direction where the striker hits it. One marble strikes another in a game of marbles. This is also similar to the striker in the carom board. When you hit one marble with another marble, that other marble will move in the forward direction. From the above examples, we understand that when a moving object strikes a stationary object, the stationary object moves. Stationary object means the object which is at rest. For example, this other piece and this stumps when we were talking about the previous examples. So, when the object in motion, that is the object which is moving, hits an object which is stationary, that is an object in rest, this object, that is the stationary object, will move. Thus, the moving object has some energy. When it moves, it means that it has gained some energy, and because of that only it was able to move. So, this energy, part of all of which it shares with the stationary object, thereby setting it in motion. The energy which an object has because of its motion, it's called as kinetic energy. So now this energy that this stump got when the cricket ball hit it, is called as kinetic energy. Similar to this carom piece, when the striker hits it, it gets this kinetic energy because of which it can move. So this is how we see physics applied in daily life. The work done by a force to displace a stationary object through a distance s is the kinetic energy gained by the object. So this is the final definition of kinetic energy. So kinetic energy is nothing but the work done on the object. And we know that this energy is same as work done because they both had the same unit. Therefore, they also have the same formula. Kinetic energy is equal to the force done multiplied by the distance or displacement traveled by the object. Now let us see the expression for kinetic energy. Suppose a stationary object of mass m moves because of an applied force, then let u be its initial velocity. So we will consider the letter u for initial velocity. So because this object was stationary, that is it was at rest, the initial velocity will be 0 because it is not moving in the beginning. Therefore we have to take the initial velocity, that is u, as 0, and let the applied force be F. So when you apply force on this stationary object, it will generate an acceleration, which we will take it as A in the object, and after time t, the velocity of the object will be equal to v. Now this v, we'll take it as the final velocity. The initial velocity, because it was stationary, is 0, and the final velocity we'll take it as v. The displacement during this time would be s. So whatever distance it moves, we will take that as s. And we know work done is force into displacement. So we have this formula which we had derived earlier, where work is force into displacement. Now according to Newton's second law of motion, we know according to Newton's second law of motion that force is equal to mass into acceleration. Now this we have to substitute in this previous formula. But we also know that the distance traveled or the displacement is equal to initial velocity into time t plus half into acceleration into time t square. Okay, this is a general formula that we have to know. But we also know that the object was stationary in the beginning. Therefore, its initial velocity was 0. So we know u is 0. So we will substitute this u as 0. But anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So this whole term ut will become 0. So what we are left with is half at square. So therefore we will get this. S is equal to half at square, because 0 plus half at square will be half at square. Now we have to substitute f is equal to ma and s is equal to half at square in this formula, where we substitute both of them in f and s's position respectively. So therefore we will get this new formula where work is equal to the formula for force, that is mass into acceleration, and this what we derived of the displacement, that is into half at square. And when you rearrange, because there are two a's and it is a multiplication sign, we will get half m and both a and t square. Therefore they have put it in bracket and written it as common, as because there is only one m but there are two a's and two t's. So we write half m and then we write at square. Now using Newton's first equation of motion, according to Newton's first equation of motion, we know that final velocity is equal to initial velocity plus at square. But since the object was stationary, the initial velocity was 0. So we got v is equal to at square. Now let us square on both sides. Using algebra, we know that when you square on both sides, it can be possible. Now we know v square is equal to at square. So we will substitute this at square with v, because v square is equal to at square. Therefore, we will get w is equal to half mv square. Now we got what another formula for work, that is half mv square. Therefore, we know that kinetic energy was same as work. The kinetic energy gained by an object is the amount of work done on the object. And we will substitute this W that we derived in kinetic energy formula. So now we get this formula for kinetic energy, that is half into mv square, because the initial velocity was 0 because it was a stationary object. Therefore, we got this formula where kinetic energy is equal to half mv square. Let us try using it in an example. A stone having a mass of 250 grams is falling from a height. So we have this stone which is falling from a height towards the surface of the ground. We have to find out how much kinetic energy does it have at the moment when its velocity is 2 meter per second. So when you drop a stone, you will notice that as it reaches towards the ground, its velocity keeps on increasing as it goes lower and lower. So they are telling us at one point of this, it was 2 meter per second, the velocity of the stone. So we have to find out at how much kinetic energy would be required when it reaches velocity of 2 meter per second. So we have the mass, which is 250 grams. We will convert it into kg because we are going to use everything in SI system. Then we have the velocity, which is 2 meter per second, and we have to substitute in this kinetic energy formula where we know kinetic energy is equal to half mv square. So we put half into 0.25 into 2 square. 2 square is 4, and when you multiply all of this, you will get the kinetic energy as 0.5 joule. Use your brain power. If the mass of a moving body is doubled, how many times will the kinetic energy increase? So if you see in this formula of kinetic energy, they are telling us the mass is being doubled, and they are asking us how much will the kinetic energy be increased. So kinetic energy and mass are directly proportional to each other. So therefore, if you double the mass, the kinetic energy also will double. So it will increase by 2 times. Earlier, we had learned about kinetic energy. Now, let us learn about the next form of mechanical energy, that is potential energy. Try this. An arrow is released from a stretched bow. You must have noticed archers, when using a bow and an arrow, they pull the string towards themselves and then release the arrow. That causes the arrow to move in the forward direction. Water kept at a height flows through a pipe into the tap below. So if you keep water in a jar on top and attach a pipe to it and bring the pipe at a lower level, you will notice that water which is present at the height easily moves with the pipe and comes out of the pipe through the tap below. A compressed spring is released. This is a spring, and when you compress it and leave it all of a sudden, you will notice that it expands and it becomes more loose in its original form. Which words describe the state of the object in the above example? Where did the energy required to cause the motion of the objects come from? So, there would have been some energy that would have been transferred into the arrow when the string was pulled. Also, some energy must have caused this water to flow down the pipe and come out of the tap. And some energy would have been used to expand this compressed spring. If the objects were not brought in those states, would they have moved? So, if this string would not have been pulled, do you think the arrow would have been released? No. The energy stored in an object because of its specific state or position is called as its potential energy. So now we learned what potential energy is. So when we pull this string behind, we use that force to store this potential energy in this arrow. That's why when we release it, there is a sort of transfer of energy that took place from the string to the arrow that caused this arrow to move in the forward direction. Hold a chalk at a height of 5 cm from the floor and release it. Now stand up straight and then release the chalk. Is there a difference in the results of the two activities? If so, then why? So take a piece of chalk and keep it right above the surface of the ground and release it. You will notice that it just slightly falls down to the ground. But if you take the chalk from a certain height and now drop it, there will be more force, and now the chalk may even break when it hits the surface of the ground. So you will notice that there is a difference. Why there is a difference? The chalk was the same and you released it also with the same force. But because of gravitational pull, the actual force acting on both the chalks would have been different. That is why different potential energy was stored in both these chalks. This first chalk has less potential energy. Therefore, when it fell to the ground, it must have not broken. But this chalk would have more potential energy because of the height. Therefore, when this chalk fell to the ground, it will most definitely break and all the pieces would be scattered everywhere. Now let us see the expression for potential energy. To carry an object of mass m to height h above the earth's surface, a force equal to mg has to be used. That is mass into gravitational pull. Because we are taking the object away from gravitational pull, we have to include g also in the force. And this has to be used against the gravitational force. The amount of work done can be calculated as follows. So we know work is equal to force into displacement, but here force we will have to take as mg, and the displacement would be the height above the surface of the earth till where you have taken the object. So therefore we get this new formula for work, that is mgh. The amount of potential energy stored in the object because of its displacement is potential energy, and we know potential energy and work both have the same units, therefore they are the same. Therefore now we can substitute this value of mgh as potential energy. So now we got the formula for potential energy, and that is mgh, where m is the mass of the object, g is the gravitational force, and h is the height above the earth's surface till where you have taken the object. Therefore, we concluded that the displacement of height h causes energy equal to mgh to be stored in the object. Now let us solve an example to make sure that we understood this topic. 500 kg of water is stored in an overhead tank of a 10-meter high building. We have to calculate the amount of potential energy stored in the water. So this is a tank which has 500 kg of water, and it is stored on a level which is at 10 meter from the surface of the earth. So now we will substitute whatever values we have and find the potential energy, because that is what they are asking us to find. So we have height, we have the mass, and we know that the gravitational pull is 9.8 meter per second square. This is a constant value of the gravitational force of the earth. Now once you substitute all of this, we get that the potential energy that is stored in the water tank is 49,000 joule. Ajay and Atul have been asked to determine the potential energy of a ball of mass m kept on a table as shown in the figure. So both Ajay and Atul have been asked to find out the potential energy of this one ball. But Ajay and Atul are both standing at different places. That is, they are at different levels from the ball. What answers will they get? Will they be different? And what do you conclude from this? So when Atul calculates the potential energy of the ball, he will get mgh2 because he is at this level. So this is what potential energy he will calculate for the ball. And Ajay will calculate it as mgh1 because from him the ball is at h1 distance. And both these values will be different because H1 and H2 are two different values. Therefore, for the same ball, Ajay and Atul both calculated different potential energies. But how is that possible? What did we conclude from this? We will conclude from this that potential energy is a relative thing. That is, it differs from the perspective that the person is viewing. The height of the ball with respect to Ajay and Atul are different. Therefore, the potential energy with respect to them will be different. So, even though the ball is the same, because Ajay and Atul are both seeing it from a different place, they both have different heights. Therefore, they will get different potential energies.
For the answers to this exercise and other free worksheets, please go to jkacademypro.com.